Today is poultry slaughter day. Here in our backyard, we have an overgrowth of ducks and a few of our neighbors' chickens to harvest. So I thought I would take the opportunity to show you my backyard poultry setup and poultry slaughter setup. And it's very simple. So I was going to say I designed it, but design is a very lofty word for what went into this. This is a one-man setup, so I do this all by myself. Consequently, I have, I don't need lots of table space. I also don't bite off more than I can chew. I can pluck one bird at a time, and that kind of determines the rate at which I can move through the birds during the slaughter. But the goal here really is to manage my flock. I have a flock of Muscovy ducks, and the key to the life of any flock is a good culling policy. And we have way too many drakes, and they're all huge. And so I'm also going to show you how to harvest a Muscovy drake of a couple years old, which is it's more like slaughtering a dinosaur than any other bird you might be familiar with. So I'll show you the simple setup here. For my setup, I do need power, so I run electricity out here, and I need water. And before I even show you the obvious kit, the most important would be the thing that is essential for every task of harvesting and cookery, and that's one of these here, tools. This is a knife, but this one is a sharp knife. So it's possible to actually enjoy the work when your knife is sharp. If it's not, then you start to think that your task, whether it's harvesting poultry or butchering beef, is harder than it actually is. It's not that difficult, it's simple. You can figure it out. You have it in your head. But if your knife is dull, you might think that it's complex. But it's not, it's your deceptive knife. So start with a sharp knife. I like to put on my clown suit here. I've got my orange jumpsuit and my muck boots because this is going to be a kind of we will be spraying blood and hosing things down the whole time that we proceed. So number one in the kit, I think, is containment. These are my neighbor's birds that she brought here, these hens. She's culling her old hens as well. And it's nice to have them contained like this so you're not chasing poultry all over the place. And that is just in keeping with the general rule of all animal slaughter that as important, if not more vital, than the actual delivery of the kill is the build-up to it. And that has the most bearing on the calmness, the equanimity, and the peace of the death, which is kind of the goal. So containment is a good idea. I've got my ducks in a coop right now, so they will be relatively simple to get a hold of. So you've got your poultry contained. You're going to want some killing cones. However you can build or acquire or put these together will work. The idea is that they are cones that are upside down. So traffic cones work. Large vinegar bottles with the bottoms chopped off. And the idea is that they actually restrain the wings of the bird. The thing about poultry and lamb even and goat and a lot of these animals is they don't conceive of anxiety and fear and then decide to flee, thus producing, adrenaline and panic. I think it's actually the other way around. They find themselves fleeing and consequently panic. And so you do so much just to achieve the calmness of the animal by restraining its body. You can calm their mind by restraining their body. And in the case of poultry, that means removing any possibility of flight. That's their plan A, B, C, D, and all the way down. So if you remove that, they don't panic. So that's kind of what this is about, is restraint. Restraining their wings, because when their wings are locked and loaded and ready to fly, then they are much more panicked. You can even tell their heart rate will be increased just as you hold them. So that's what those are for. It also allows them to bleed out in a relatively containable way. And I've got some pig bowls down here for that. The other essential is your scalding tank. I've got a big pot on top of my propane jet burner, and I can heat this thing very rapidly because it's a very powerful burner. And that is essential to this kit, because if you're standing around waiting 20 minutes to increase the temperature just a few degrees, because maybe it chilled out as you were slaughtering more chickens, then you're going to be out here all day. But I can heat this whole barrel in about 10 minutes, this whole pot. And the temperature we're going for is 150 degrees. And that's what I do with chickens and ducks. So don't underestimate the importance of a robust burner. Absolutely essential. I also have a gigantic potato masher here. Especially when it comes to ducks, you'll see the technique is lots of plunging. And it's nice to not scald your own forearms in the process. And this is, you can scald this all you want and it doesn't matter. It's just a little bit of distance between me and the hot water as we hold the chickens in there. And I can actually lock their knees into these curvature of the potato masher, and it works pretty well. And then we move over to the most elaborate apparatus. Not essential, but pan-essential. It's pretty awesome. This is a plucker, and when I plug it in, these spin. The warm water has loosened the pores of the skin, because these do have skin, not hide, and the feathers become easy to pull out, and I just hold them by the legs here. And this thing spins, and I turn their bodies, and it whips off all of their feathers. And this reduces plucking, at least for chickens, to a matter of seconds rather than several minutes. And if you're fast, you can just pluck a chicken, and it'll only take you, maybe 8 minutes or so. But with this, we're down to less than a minute. So this is a really nice piece of kit, and you can find no end of how to put these together on the YouTube University. There's so many ways. Some people use electric drills with knobbies that they mount in a vise, and then you can keep the drill going and hold the chicken over it. Some are designed as drums, and that's what the Featherman plucker kit is, where the bottom of the drum spins, and it's got these little knobs on it, and it spins within a barrel, a drum that also has knobbies on it, and you can do 2 at a time in that one. And so that's for a little larger production. When I have that kind of setup, and I can kill 4 at a time, scald 2, and pluck 2 at a time, I can do over 50 chickens in a day by myself and have them, all the way wrapped, labeled, and in the freezer by 3 o'clock. So that really increases your productivity. But this is really the backyard setup, 1 bird at a time. And the advantage of that is that this is supposed to enable your ready access to culling, which is so essential. And I am so hypocritical in even saying that, because I have delayed far too long in harvesting my excess of Muscovy drakes. But if this is accessible, if it's a quick setup and a quick takedown, you're much more likely to get rid of those extra birds that are dragging your whole flock down, and maybe even the management of the pasture that you're working with. So make it accessible. This is the plucker, a simple machine. And then in here I have a big cooler, and these are those really large coolers that you have seen. They're pretty common. They're like blue tarps and milk crates and what else? 5-gallon buckets. They are those things that just are, it's impossible to limit their utility on a small holding for your little backyard farm. And so there's no way to limit their use. So have them all. You will use them. This one I use, in this case, to fill with cold water. I don't put ice in it or anything like that. I don't treat any of the water with anything. And after the birds come off of the plucker, they go in here. Here we've got a big Muscovy drake, and they chill in the water, but it also kind of cleans them, and so they're nice and pretty. I use it to rinse off the feathers, and they'll hang out in here before I eviscerate them, because the best way to manage your progress here is to do, at least as a one-man show, to do all of the killing, scalding, plucking in one batch, and then everything goes in here. And then the second part of the day you spend at your table pulling the guts out, taking birds out of the cooler and doing the evisceration and the offal harvest. And so those are kind of the two stages that this kit serves to enable for the harvesting of poultry.
Yeah, I thought so.
Hey, thanks for watching. To dive deeper into more Meatsmith membership content, click up there. To support us on Patreon, look down there and click the link in the profile. To subscribe, hit the bell so you'll be notified of more videos, and then we've got some more right back there behind me. Thanks.